We're a well-established sustainable property consultancy that has been around and involved in the world of sustainable construction since it began to take hold in the UK around 2002 with the then changes to the building regulations, then the introduction of the Code for Sustainable Homes, and more recently the ongoing demand for BREEAM and Passive House. So we've been involved in the industry since the early days. With regards to what we do, we provide a range of consultancy services that you would find associated with any other property consultancy, but where we differ is we also provide a sustainable design service that can be tailored to meet the requirements of any construction project. So we offer the traditional consultancy services such as chartered surveyors, project managers, employers agents and so on, but we also provide a sustainable design element that complements those services, and it's that which creates the added value side of things for our clients. In relation to who our clients are, these cut across all sectors, and we're currently working with social housing landlords, large construction companies, private developers, domestic householders and anyone who has an interest in construction and property. So we have strong working relationships with all types of clients. Sustainable construction is a widely used term that covers a vast array of design and construction options that all designers should consider at the start of a project in order to maximise true value for their clients and in particular that of the building. But to be brief, to achieve sustainable construction you have to get the opportunity to design it in. And to be given the opportunity to design it in, you have to be involved in the project right at the very beginning. So you can get a full view of what it is the client is trying to achieve, and then you can decide how the efficiencies within that building can be maximised. But that said, one of the biggest challenges that we see facing the industry at the moment is that as sustainable construction gets more and more technical, then it becomes more and more difficult to deliver it. And I think that's something that the industry needs to be aware of. We've been quite fortunate to have been involved in so many projects where we've been invited in by clients to provide consultancy advice, and then purely by association with the project team, we've witnessed problems arising with sustainability targets being missed, financial pressures building, and in some cases a disconnect between the design and construction teams. And the main thing here is, most of the time, this is not down to anyone's individual fault. It's more often to do with a technical issue or an environmental requirement that gets overlooked, or maybe a project target becomes misunderstood. So to give you an example, we were asked to take over a project which involved a new build block of flats that had some retail units on the ground floor. And one of the biggest problems facing this project was not only did it have to deliver the building's contract specifications, it also had to achieve an environmental target of BREEAM Very Good and a planning condition to reduce the CO2 emissions by 40% over 2006 standards. So by the time we got involved, things had already progressed, and it sort of became a damage limitation exercise, trying to pull back on what had already taken place and then attempting to reintroduce some new policies and directives to ensure the building standards could be met. This went on for some time, and of course it was inevitable that costs were going to go up, and the frustration here is this was all completely avoidable. We often get asked if we always save money for our clients, and the answer is yes, we can and often do save lots of money for our clients. But we have to be involved in the project right at the very beginning so we can influence the design, identify the range of targets that need to be achieved, and then take the necessary steps to make sure that they are implemented. That way, efficiencies are maximised and money is saved as a direct result. We've had several projects where the standards required by the local authority have been much higher than those required by the building regulations. And what tends to happen in these circumstances is one of two things. The first is the standards are underestimated, and at handover the finished building doesn't quite match up to what's needed by the local authority. In which case retrospective measures have to be taken to put that right, and this is always going to be expensive. On the other hand, the complete opposite happens, and too much of what required is specified, which is just as costly as underestimating the project and just as avoidable. We've just saved one of our clients over £150,000 on a project where several items were included in the design that weren't actually needed. So we omitted them and returned the savings to the client. But the amazing thing here is, it was thought at the time the building was being designed that these items were needed in order to pass the building regulations, which of course they weren't. One of the best ways to avoid construction projects being overspecified, or just as badly being underspecified, is to be aware of the building standards appropriate to a specific area. And if the standards are not that obvious, then questions need to be asked to find out what they are, and this will make sure that there are no unwanted surprises as the projects progress. Beyond that, design teams need to be appointed as early on as possible so that they can identify the range of targets applicable and how these can be achieved in the most economical way. But most importantly, clients need to select experienced project teams that have a full understanding of what's required, how to deliver it, and the level of cost involved.